Okay, so this entire unit has to come out. This is a hard plastic line with these bends that I'm talking about. See how it has all these bends? And then this is the bottom end that actually goes into the transmission. So this sits at the bottom and comes around the frame. Then this is at your pedal. And then this is up above where you fill the fluid. Normally they put the bleeder valve up high. Or they have a little nipple on here that you can bleed. But Ford, in their infinite wisdom, put no nipple on here to bleed it through here. So the problem is this is sitting in the car like this. This is up inside by your battery. Air gets trapped up in here. When you push the pedal, it doesn't expel the air out. There's no nipple for you to be able to bleed the air out. So it gets trapped up in here. So you're just pushing and the air's just going back and forth, back and forth. No escape for it. Nowhere to get it out. To get it down past this point to go up into this line to burp out. The other thing that you run into is if air gets trapped in here, this is all running downhill and then it goes uphill over the frame. So what happens is an air bubble will come out of the transmission, kind of be trying to find its way up, but then all of a sudden it has to hit a hill and it'll get trapped in one of these corners here. So when you push the pedal, it only goes so far and then it comes back when you let go of the pedal. It won't push it far enough to get it up and out. So what I did was I hung this up. I took this like it's in the car, facing up, and filled just a little bit of fluid in the cup up there so that it doesn't suck air, as you can see the fluid level. Okay, now on this end, this is actually a plunger. So if I turn this upside down, fluid will not fall out of this. That's the stopper. You can take a screwdriver and push down and this plunger goes down and air and fluid will be expelled. So what I did was I had my daughter help me. I pushed the plunger down and I had her take brake fluid and slowly pour it in while I had the plunger down. You could hear it burping down, going down, going down, going down. And eventually it got to the point where it started spilling up and out. So I closed the valve, burped it by pushing it in again, and it let the fluid go down. And as my daughter was filling, I was watching this, and he was actually kind of filling this up a little bit, which means that the fluid had made the full travel gravity-wise and came and filled all of this. Then I took this and put it at a lower level, sat and tapped on it with a screwdriver to get any air bubbles that might be trapped in here. Then I held the plunger down low, opened the plunger, poured it until it was flush up to this level, and sat there and waited. Got a burp, a little air bubble. It dropped down to the fluid level, dropped down to about there. And then I pushed the plunger down, filled it again, and sat there for about 10 minutes. Nothing else came out. So I was like, okay, now I'm pretty sure I've got most of it expelled. Then the other thing that you do is at that point, this plunger should not be able to push in because that plunger is closed, so there's nowhere for the fluid to go. There's a lid on here. There's nowhere for the fluid and air to go. So it's all fluid inside here with the fluid with nowhere to go. So what happens is it builds up pressure. You should be able to take this plunger. This goes to your pedal. It's like pushing your pedal. The pedal's attached to here and you put your foot on the back side of the pedal. But you shouldn't be able to move this plunger in at all if it's completely filled with fluid. And I've got pressure and I get maybe a 1/16 of an inch, which means that I believe that all the air is expelled out of here. I could push it against the wall, but I'm afraid I'd go through the drywall. Then the other component is this. This is your old one that was leaking. This is the actual slave cylinder and throw-up bearing in one piece. This is actually inside the transmission, so you can't see it if you get underneath the truck. The only part that you can see is the transmission housing goes right here, so you can see both of these. You plug that line into this one, and it's got a thing in there where the plungers meet, and it'll open up the plungers. And this is your bleeder valve. So you pump, 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 and then you open that bleeder valve, and it's supposed to force any air through here and out through that line. But the problem is, normally in a system, normally this line is down lower. This is all up at the top. That's where your foot pedal is. And this line will be like down here where the transmission is. And then this is tied into it. The problem is this bleeder valve is at the very bottom. The air wants to work its way uphill, but it hits these spots where it gets trapped. So You can bleed down here all you want. You can get the air expelled maybe out of here, but anything that's stuck up here, gravity doesn't work that way where the air will come back downhill and expel out of here. So they should have put a bleeder valve up top somewhere here, but they didn't. That's why it is such a son of a bitch. This part is inside the transmission. So in order to like completely bench bleed this, you'd have to have this out of the car, connected to here, then do a full bleed. But the problem that you have there is once you're done, you have to put this part back inside the transmission. So guess what? You have to separate this again. When you separate that, guess what happens? Air sucks in. So you have no way to do this as one complete total unit with this assembled outside the car. The other bitch is, this is a very hard plastic line. Very, very hard. Doesn't flex at all. If you try to flex this, you're going to break it. And as you can see, it's got many, many curves. Okay? Now, I don't want to disconnect any of these lines because I've got it fully purged and full of fluid right now. If I disconnect any lines to install this as separate pieces, it's going to introduce air again. Now, the problem is that little white canister bolts right there. Then it's got that black filler tube that has to run down underneath all of this crap. And then around these, then down under there, you can't see it, there's a hole back in there, is where that plunger goes. So you have to maneuver it around all these damn wires. And then the part with the bends goes down to the frame down there where that gold, let me move this jug. Okay, there's the steering column. Back down there, you see like a copper gold color? That's the frame. So that bend goes up, goes along the side, then goes up and over the frame to this side. And remember, you have to do this all as one piece. So you're having to feed. This is from underneath. Feed through all of this crap. Then that line runs down here, comes up and over the frame, and then goes into that copper part. That's the release line and the bleeder valve up there at the top where the silver is. So as you can see, it's a very tight fit with all these curves. That hose does not flex because it's hard plastic. So it's just a motherfucker. That's why I was dreading having to pull it back out. It's because you got to unwrap it around all this shit. Then you've got to feed it up through all of this shit as one piece. It's a motherfucker. Oh, here's the hole where the clutch pedal, where that plunger goes through. That goes into your clutch pedal. So you have to feed that one cylinder with the push rod up through there. It comes out. The line goes up and wraps around this shit to up above here where that white coolant reservoir is. And then the rest runs down there. There you go.